Good evening, everybody. How you guys doing tonight? Man, did we have fun last night or what? That was awesome. Another great giveaway. Awesome. Man, I'm excited. I like doing this particular um cut and chat talking about doing the shows and stuff because it's very nostalgic thinking about back in the day doing the shows, well, back in the day, a couple of years ago. Doing the shows and having fun and like it is a lot of fun to do the shows. How many people in here have done a rock show before? Like where you've gone and set up and run a booth. Oh, okay, we got a few. Right? And back in my day. Oh,
Can you
there
hear
you
me?
go. We can hear you.
Oh, there we go.
You live with us now, Jordan?
I am the headset I realized doesn't work over here, so I had to set it up at my sitting desk, and now I'm at the live sale station. But I got it.
Well, happy
Where's
birthday, Jordan. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here with all of you.
I like
Did
how
you
the team,
see? Did you see that? That's awesome.
yeah, I love that the team did all of the pink backgrounds for you.
That's so sweet. Thank you guys. Nancy, thank you for, I meant to thank you for the cards, the two cards that you and Vicky and the club gave to me last week. That was very sweet. So
Oh,
thank you
how
so
nice.
much. Thank you guys. I love all of you guys. I'm so happy to be a part of Highland Park and learn and grow with all of you guys. And I don't know, I'm sad I'm not going to be here for my birthday tomorrow. But I think I can dabble a little like Ed does and have a birthday for more than one day. I think it might be allowed just this once. But thank you guys.
That's hilarious. George just like, we'll just make it well, earlier she was like, it's my birthday week. You can't do that because it's my birthday week, or we have to do this because it's
No,
my
it's
birthday week.
my birth month, Seek, not just the week.
I know,
The
I was
birth
saying I was
month.
impressed that you've got it down to just a week because that's what you said earlier was a week.
Yeah. But my mom told me I can't have the whole month, but we'll work our way back up to that next year. Thank you guys. I don't know. I love celebrating. I love celebrating things. Like I love celebrating my friends' birthdays. I love doing birthdays with the team here. I love going all out for everybody. So it's very sweet that you guys did the backgrounds like that. And we had cupcakes earlier at the warehouse. During all the chaos, it was nice for the team to be able to sit down for 10 minutes because everyone was itching to get back to work. But it was nice to have everyone sit in the break room to have cupcakes earlier after lunch. But yeah, we went out to a little like a few of us went over to AJ's restaurant for lunch too, which was sweet. But I don't know. The bet I wished for a really good live sale night tonight when I blow out the candles, and we're off to a great start. So I'm really excited for the topic tonight. I think you guys are going to learn a lot.
You're not supposed to tell people what your wish was.
Oh, well, you're only supposed to have a day for your birthday, and I'm having the whole month, so I don't really follow the rules, I guess.
All right, well, let's get started. We're gonna be talking about kind of, I mean, it's gonna be a little bit on starting a business as well, but a little bit about doing shows, things that you'll need to plan and prep for, some of the, just maybe some ideas to help people get going. Um, just to give you guys a little background, I grew up in my dad's rock shop, so we would actually host rock shows in the back of the rock shop there would invite other vendors, jewelry makers and stuff. And we would go around and do shows. So like I've done Tucson and I've probably done hundreds of rock shows at this point. And my sister actually runs the Crystal Festivals, which are done mostly out of Utah, but she has them in a bunch of the western states where she hosts events. So we got a lot of practice doing this, and I've done a bunch of shows when I started my business. And I'll tell you something like scissors. I forgot almost every show. It's a little thing that's important. So I made a little bit of a list of things to bring, and I told Adrian to send me her packing list. I don't think she sent it to me, so I'll see if I can get that for you guys, and we'll get you a list. But well, the first thing I wanted to talk about is finding a path. A lot of people struggle to do just one thing really well. They'll do a little bit of everything, or one of the common things I see is people doing at shows, especially more and more in the last few years, is they just go to Tucson, they buy a whole bunch of really common stuff that a bunch of other people bought, and then they mark it up in various price ranges. And you go to you can go to a show and you'd be like, oh yep, they bought that in Tucson, they bought that in Tucson. This is all the same stuff that, you can see clearly they all went to Tucson, bought it, and are reselling it. And there's nothing wrong with buying and reselling, but if everybody has the same stuff and there's nothing unique, then at that point you're just fighting for the best price, which is not a great strategy for building a great business. So even if you're buying and reselling finished goods, I highly encourage that you make some of it or you make something of what you're doing unique as a service. Um, so like if you're gonna offer slabs, be like I offer premium slabs or I offer really affordable slabs. If you do cabochons, either really great prices or they're really high end. And you could have a little bit of both, but pick something and focus on that area. For me, I did not start getting good at shows until I started focusing on cabochons. I would do go to shows and I see actually I have some pictures for you guys. I was digging through, I'm gonna screen share. All right. So you can see this disaster of a um rock show setup. I mean, it's not really that horrible, but it's not anything that's going to get you to greatness. And you can see behind the booth is all messy because we're still setting up. Um, but it's literally just tarps laid out on tables so that people can spray down the rocks. And at this point in time, when I was doing this, I was not doing well. I was like, oh gosh, I hope this is a good show. I paid for my booth. Um, and it wasn't until I got a lot more refined that the show started getting better. So you're going to learn along the way. But I saw that picture and I thought I would share it with you guys because it was not always easy. I always tell people it takes 2 to 3 years generally for you when you start a business to get where you're doing good. So just plan on that first 2 to 3 years being rough. When I talk about, oh yeah, I did $15,000 on a 2-day weekend show. That is not where it started. That is where it progressed to when I was doing really, really well. So I thought that would be fun for you guys to see a picture there where it was not as great. But back to what I was saying of the first thing is pick a path. So if you're going to do cabs, focus on one thing and do it really well first. If you're going to do slabs, if you're going to do rough, focus on one thing and do it really, really well. And then you can add in other things later. Like I eventually started adding in spheres and other things. That's so funny, Lorena. And I will just warn you now, you're gonna get people that walk up and go, "Ugh, that's ugly. Ugh, that's overpriced. Ugh, I don't like that." It's just part of dealing with the public is you're gonna have people that are far too honest with their opinion. You'll also get people that are like, "Man, that's the best deal I've ever seen," or "I love that and it's gorgeous." But don't take it personally. It will happen. Just plan for it. Don't feel bad about what you have. I get asked this all the time with people going, "Well, is my stuff good enough to sell?" And of course it is. Because I guarantee there's something out there of lesser quality that someone's selling. So don't be afraid to start. That's where a lot of people get hung up is I'm like, I have to wait till it's the best, it's good enough, it's better, or it's perfect until I can start. You're never gonna get good until you start and you do it, and it's not gonna go super smooth. You're gonna find flaws and bumps in the road. just start and know that you're gonna have problems along the way and you're gonna improve and grow. So like don't feel ashamed of putting something out because you don't think it's good enough because I guarantee there's somebody that likes it. You know, I used to say that when we had jewelry, the uglier I thought the piece of jewelry was, the faster it would sell. Like jewelry that I made, I'd make a piece of jewelry and be like, this thing's hideous. I should just cut it up and throw it in the scrap metal and, reset the stone. And it would be the first piece that someone would walk up and go, oh my gosh, I love this. And, they would happily buy it. So don't don't be afraid to just start. That's where you're going to start learning and growing is when you actually start doing it and taking action. That's very important. All right. Now the when you do figure out which path that you're going to go down of what you want to sell, the next thing to really think about is how you display your finished product or your whatever you're selling. So if how you have your spheres laid out, how you have your cabs laid out, how you have slabs and bins, you got to figure out how to do that setup and make it inviting. One of the things that like we were talking about last night, if it is really cluttered or clunky and looks messy, people are not going to feel like they can come over and look. They're going to be like, ooh, that gives me anxiety. Or, ooh, I don't want to knock anything over or break anything. Or they just won't be attracted to the booth. Because you have to actually get people to walk to your booth. A lot of people are just going to be walking by. You need them to actually stop. Yeah, I think this is going to be recorded. So let's see. Let me find another picture here of when I got more refined in what I was doing. Um, oh, whoops. I had pictures prepared, but they're not sharing the way that I thought they would. Well, so I would always have pieces at my booth that were a more attracting, bigger, flashier pieces that would get people to walk over. Apparently, all these photos did not save. I'll have to find some of those photos a little bit later while we talk. But I'll at least find that more refined photo. Yeah, right, David? That's very common. Yeah, so like doing slabs is great to have them laid out in bins of water where people can walk up and look through them and they're wet. One of the things that I really hate and I see people struggle with this all the time is they'll have their items so inaccessible, like locked up behind cases or where they can't be seen, so that you cannot really touch them. Like a lot of people will have cabs in glass cabinets where you can't actually touch the cabs. And they'll be like, oh, I didn't really sell that well. And so I actually would account into my cost, or my pricing that I was going to have theft, and I'd have them all laid out on the table in trays, open trays, no lid on them, so that people could walk up and touch them. And I knew little kids were going to walk up and play with them. I knew some of them were going to get stolen, but I also knew that I was going to sell a lot more doing that because it was more inviting to be able to look at them. Just something to plan for. You have to plan for people breaking things and wanting to touch things. And obviously, there's a price point for that. Like I would keep the cheaper cabs at the front of the table, and I would put the more expensive ones at the back of the table where they were harder to reach, but I would still leave them all open unless it was really expensive. Like anything that was maybe $200 or more, that's when I'd be like, all right, that's in a case where people can ask to look at it, or I'd have it behind the table, where they could come around and I could have one or two people back there at a time looking at the items. So thinking about how you're going to display something is going to be really important. And I really would like to show you guys some of these pictures. Let me see if I can find that picture really quick. I did not save them the way that I thought I saved them. because how you display makes a big difference. Lighting is one of the most important things that people overlook. Um, I'll see people with great setups and beautiful um, stuff not do well because they have no lighting. Let's see. Oh, here's one I can share with you guys. All right, can you guys see this picture?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, so you can see I have all the cabs laid out in trays, um, where they're easily accessible, and I have them laid out so that the cheaper cabs are closer to the front, more expensive ones are in the back. You can see further down, I have all the spheres laid out on stands, and I love this like wood stand that they're sitting on. Makes it a really nice display area. And one of the other things that I did to really attract people was I had a low speed sphere machine, you can see right here, that I would have this set up and running at the show so that people would stop and look at it. Like literally people would stand there for an hour and stare at that machine. So it's a great attractant to get people over to your booth. And that actually is another way that you can really be invited to shows. People be a lot more excited for you to come to their show if you have something that's like demonstrating like that. That Kabambi sphere is, I think it's an 8-inch sphere. Lighting for outdoor shows really is a lot harder because depending on your electricity. But if you have sunlight, then you really don't need lights. For me personally, I vowed to never do an outdoor show again. So that's another thing that you gotta decide on your setup is if you're doing an indoor shows versus outdoor shows. Outdoor shows, you have to deal with things like wind, rain. Um, people tend to bring animals like dogs and stuff to outdoor shows. So I despise doing outdoor shows personally. I absolutely hated doing it. Um, they were never as successful for me. Um, so I didn't really focus. I did outdoor shows, but I really got to the point where I was like, I'm never doing an outdoor show again, just because there was so much more work. I also see what people take rechargeable lights and hang them from the tents. That seems to be a pretty popular way, or to have flashlights there. My favorite lights are if you look at the brand Show Off Lighting. Um, they're the that would be these taller, lights right here that you can't see the bulbs. Those lights, if you get the premium one, they're like $500 a light. You need one light per 8-foot table. They are so worth it if you're going to be doing shows regularly. They pack down really conveniently. They look really nice. They just clamp to the table, and it gives you the absolute best color. And a lot of people want lights really close, but that washes stuff out and makes it not as nice. So having them up away from the table actually is a lot better. Like I still had this little light in the middle here, this lamp, but I actually got away from using those because I decided I didn't like it as much. The trays, those ones I believe I got from Johnson Brothers. If you just search Rikers like that, you can find those trays, and they have a glass lid, and they actually you can get this. I did get from Johnson Brothers. This silver case right here. I just put a little dot on them. They would all stack up in those cases. So that's actually another good thing to mention. One of the things I was going to talk about. So once you decide what you're going to focus on, like clearly in here you can see that the focus is cabochons and spheres. Once you decide that, think about how you're going to transport everything as if you're not the one setting up and tearing down. what you will see at every rock show, if you go around there, set up and close down, is people going, "Oh wait, no, that goes in this bin over here. And this one's special because it goes in this bin over here." And it's a nightmare to set up and tear down. So if you make everything nice and neat and uniform, like this whole setup that you see right here, in about 45 minutes, I could have this set up or torn down, loaded into the car. Nope, none of the cabs have bales. They're just loose cabochons for people to make jewelry with. I found my estimation was that I would lose about 10% of my inventory to theft doing it like this. I don't ever think it was actually quite that high, but that's what I would plan on is losing as much as 10%. Because it's yeah, this is definitely one of the smaller booths. But it was just I just knew that was gonna I was gonna have thefts and I didn't worry about it because that was part of the setup. Um, yeah, and that includes kids like knocking over trade cabs and breaking them and things like that. Yeah, it's just something that you have to account for. There's no way to get around it. If you do business, you're gonna run into those problems. I generally prefer more rock shows than arts and craft shows. I never did super well at arts and craft shows. The best shows I did were always the more metaphysical based shows. I always found those to be more profitable shows than doing like a rough rock show. But rock shows in general are what I would be looking at. Gem and mineral shows. Farmers markets, I never really had a ton of success with. I mean, they were okay, but it's not something I would focus on. I would say if you're getting started, do as many events as absolutely possible and keep track of how you did at each event. And then the next year you can map out, okay, those ones weren't worth doing. Those ones definitely were worth doing. And those ones are like a maybe. And that's what I would do is I would track every show year over year and I'd be like, all right, am I doing better or at least the same at each one of these shows? Um, and then I would be like, all right, this one's not making the cut for next year. Yeah, and farmers markets are a good place to start too because Terry's right, they are very affordable to do. I'm not sure what you mean, Anita. A juried show. What area are you in, Peter? There's a website that you can go to. And I'll see if I can um find that website for you guys. But just search gem and mineral shows. And I would feel like there's got to be something nearby.
Oh, that's a good question, Randy. Zikri, do you sell by the gram weight per cab, or do you price them? Like, how do you price out your cabs?
So that's actually a very unique question, and this is very important thing to talk about. You want a price on everything. Um, there is ne you don't want items where you have to guess the price on because you may not remember correctly, or people may feel like you're trying to rip them off if they have to ask the price. Because there are people that will do shows and be like, oh, the price is this, and maybe someone comes along wearing a nicer outfit and the price goes up a little bit. So I tried to have a price on everything, and I'd even bring extra labels, just in case. However, I did price the cabs by the gram. I would sit and we would sit at the dining room table and we would put a sticker on the back of every one of those cabochons. We would, a lot of them were like $2 a gram for the more affordable ones. And so we would sit and write a little sticker for every single stone. Or the other way I would have it if they were like too small or something, is I would have a bin and be like, these are $5 each. Something along those lines. But everything would have a price on it, and every sphere would have a sticker that said the price on it. And so it makes a big difference having the price on there. I can tell you, nobody likes buying cabochons when they have to ask, well, how many grams is this? Because for selling, it makes it really easy to figure out your pricing by the gram. But nobody wants to buy that way. It's much easier for them to just be like, oh, it's $10. Or you'll say, like, even if it's cheap, like $2 a gram is not very expensive for a lot of cabs. And so you could have a cab that's maybe 15 bucks, but if you say this is $2 a gram, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that sounds expensive." Well, and the other thing to think about too, if you guys are like, man, there's just nothing local to me that, I can do. Live events are becoming very, very, very popular. Online, you can reach anywhere in the world, and a lot of these same things apply. I mean, we're just looking at the physical aspect, but having a website or and some form of traffic would be very similar process of how you set up, how you present, how you make everything look nice and neat and beautiful and inviting. And this show that that I'm showing you guys right now, it was always just a 1 day or a 2 day show inside a church in downtown Salt Lake. It is one of my favorite shows to do. It was really easy to set up. I always got the space right by the door because I'd have the sphere machine to demonstrate, and I would always do at least 2 grand in a weekend doing this show. And so for doing a really easy, you're like 10 to 4 or 10 to 6, something like that for a day or two would be a really great show. And that's the other thing, just a little tad bit there is don't necessarily listen when people say, "Oh, I had a really great show or a really bad show," unless you actually know what those numbers are. Because 99% of the time, people have no idea how good they actually did. Because very few people that are doing this, and this is another very important thing to do, it keeps track of their sales properly and inventories what they have. A lot of people don't even know what they brought to the show or, like, did that sell? Did it get stolen? How much did I actually bring? So inventorying and tracking your sales is another really important way to go. A lot of people on the subject of pricing, they don't want to carry cash around anymore, or you'll find places where people only have cash, they don't want to use a card. So it's a really good idea to have like 3 options for payment. Um, so having like something like Square, I really like for people getting started. I love Square. Being able to take cash, having an actual till where you can make change is going to be important. And Square is good for being able to track your cells as well. You can even put cash cells in there if you want to properly track it. Exactly, James. Well, that's the problem is a lot of people do it under the table and don't properly keep track. So having a till where you can bring change, you can take a credit card, and something else like being able to take Apple Pay and Venmo is another really great option for sales. Deciding if you're going to take checks or not. Like a lot of people don't deal in checks, but occasionally if you get a big buyer, like when we buy, I often will pay in a check. So being, deciding if you take checks or not is important and what the process looks like for that. Do you know how to identify a fake $100 bill? That's something to look at because that's going to be common at places like this. You can watch a little YouTube tutorial on how to do that. That's a pretty easy thing to learn. But having a way to take payments is important, which it will actually diverge really nicely into the next segment of what do you do when somebody buys something? If somebody walks up and wants 3 of these little cabochons, how do they take them away? And I see a lot of people really struggle in that area of like, oh, I didn't bring any bags or wrapping material or anything to like give this to a customer. Um, and so you want to decide how you're going to package things and how the customer is going to walk away with that. So for the cabochons, I would have little plastic baggies that I could put individual or a couple little cabochons in. And then I'd have like a fancier like organza bag if they wanted something small. And I'd also just buy boxes of thank you bags. Like the plastic is kind of like a grocery style bag that just says thank you on it. And I would do something like that. My sister gets way deeper into it, and she has all kinds of fancy little packaging, which people really do like, little gift boxes. But think about how the customer is going to walk away with your item if they do buy it. Square is definitely what I would recommend if you're just getting started. For taking credit cards, and you can actually build a website through Square. You can do inventory management through Square.
If
You can do your CRM through Square. You can do a lot through Square for starting a small business that I really, really like. So I would look at something like Square, and that's what I ran my business off of was Square actually. So for a small business, that's a really, really great tool.
for Venmo, what I found the easiest thing um for you guys, what would be good is you can print off a QR code because everybody nowadays has phones. So print off a QR code and you can get that printed and just put it in a little acrylic stand that stands up on your booth. That way people can scan it. So as soon as people pull out their phone, they scan it, you give them the total, they'll send it right over to you. That's going to be the easiest way instead of having to pull out your phone and then you have a line going and your phone's not loading. So always having that physical Venmo. Venmo is just it's an app that helps you send money back and forth. Yeah, I did. I help my friend's mom out at craft shows. So Venmo is really popular and the Square is awesome. So her setup is her husband built her like this nice, cool portable stand at her booth. And on the customer side, all you see is her iPad that she stands up straight on a little stand that she has the Square website on. And I would highly recommend if you can have a setup that takes Apple Pay, that's going to be a lot of your sales now because I use Apple Pay all the time. Like I barely carry my card on me. So something like that'll be helpful. But she has the iPad, and like Zeke said, it helps you track your inventory, and that's a skill that you really want to hone in on as you're doing shows and anything is to be able to track what you're making, what you're selling, and what's cool is you can with the Square, like Zeke said, it'll help you adjust your inventory as you go. And if you get to the point where you want to end up on Shopify, which is a bigger site, that'll automatically like adjust inventory and drive demand for you as well. But if you guys have any inventory questions, um, you can direct message me and I can help you with that. But that's Zikri, how did you do inventory when you were doing the shows? Yeah, no, I knew the answer. See, me and Zeke are two very different people.
Yes, that is a very good point, Sharon, not to mix it. And actually, to what Jordan said, having like you could actually buy already made stands that show that you take like Venmo or PayPal or credit card on them. And having those out is really good because then people don't have to ask you, do you take a card? So with the cabochons, I did about half of what you see on the table here. Um, I would buy more affordable cabochons that I could put with higher end cabochons that I cut because I was not cutting, $15 cabs. I would buy in bulk from, I had a friend in India that would make cabs for me, and I would buy in bulk from him and I would sell those. And then the other half of the cabs I would make myself. And that way I could, and I'd tell people that if they walked up and be like, "Did you make these?" I'd make, "Oh, I said I'd make about half of what's here." Um, and so that I'm still creating and making something unique, but I also have more affordable options for people. Because personally, my favorite cabs were most of them were in the 150 to $250 range that I was cutting. I did not want to cut 15 to $20 cabs. And so I would supplement that in. Same with the spheres. I make a lot of the higher end spheres, but I would buy wholesale, more affordable spheres to offer to people that maybe weren't going to drop $1,000 on a sphere. Just because you can't possibly do everything, and the more things that you can have other people do for you, the bigger your business can actually grow. which leads us to our next section that we were kind of touched on a little bit, a CRM, a way to track your customers and your interactions. Um, most, I'd say 99.9% of people that are running a small business are either not doing this or not doing it well. Um, but I will tell you that my biggest sales were always my repeat customers. So the way I would do this, and I was never good at the tracking part of this. I would always just do this through my phone of where I'd be like, "Oh, text me," you know. My personal phone became a work phone because was always talking to people that way. So it's better if you can set it up through a CRM to communicate with customers. But my best customers, I'd be like, "Hey, I just cut a batch of really high-end cabs. If you want to come over to the house, I'll let you pick these first." And they would come over and they would buy cabs from me at the house. And if I didn't build those relationships and get their contact information, I would not be able to do that. And often those people were spending either, $500, $1,000, or, maybe they were spending a couple $1,000s every time I offered them cabs. And so that was really important for my business. So I actually would have, I can't remember what it's called, but you can look these up. There's lots of them now where you can get a little, like a tap, where you can have someone tap their phone and it shares their contact information. And then I would also have, like as Lizelle said, a sign up book because you'll find that there's two people out there. There's the people that are like, "Oh, I don't use my phone." And then there's the people that are like, "I want, everything's on my phone." Like Jordan is not one to write it down on paper if she's giving out her information. She'd much rather be able to just tap her phone. Whereas you'll find someone generally of an older generation is going to be like, "Well, I'd rather just write it down on a piece of paper." Sphere buyers were definitely repeats. A good Sphere customer was constantly buying a high-end Sphere. Maybe sometimes as much as once a week, spending a decent amount on Spheres. And so those are definitely people that'd be like, "Hey, I just cut a really premium Sphere. This is something you might be interested in." So you need to collect people's information so that you can stay in touch with those people. Social media is another really great way to do that. Be like, "Hey, I'm going to be at this show this weekend." Or, "Hey, I just finished this material. Maybe you're interested in seeing this." Maybe you sell slabs. And you're like, "Hey, I just sliced up this rock. You might be interested in this." So having a social media that you can share with too is going to be really helpful for you guys. Because honestly, this kind of business and most kind of businesses are going to more of a virtual world where we sell through online. I mean, look at the live events. We're not even going to rock shows anymore. We do exclusively live events. And so you want to be thinking about those online sales.
That'd be very helpful, James. Zeke, did you have
Yes,
cards?
yes, and I have a formula for having a business card. I meant to grab one when I was at home. On my business cards, I would always have a picture of me, a picture of some beautiful cabs, a picture of, maybe a sphere or something really nice. And then I would put my information and a QR code on it that they could scan to get all that information right into their phone. And the reason that you want all of that on there is how many business cards do you get that you're just like, "I have no idea what this is for anymore." So having a picture of me on there, people would then remember having a conversation with me. Having a picture of what I sell on there so that they remember what they were interested in helps. And then having two ways of getting the information. Either they can write it down or manually enter it, or they can just scan the QR code. Yeah, I don't really care. I used to carry business cards all the time. I don't carry them at all anymore.
What also is becoming really popular, what I realize is, like I said earlier, the QR code, Zeke. Um, they also, people have been doing business cards with a QR code on it to follow your social media. So when you have the QR code on there, you can set it up to link like to your Etsy storefront, to your Instagram handle, your Facebook handle, and all that stuff. So if you guys want to add that up there so people can easily connect with you, that'll be a good thing to add as well.
Yeah, my QR code went to a link tree. where you had I had all of that on there: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You know, I would even put my Venmo on there so people could scan that if they wanted to Venmo me. So Angela, that's a really good question. A lot of people don't like having pictures of their stuff taken, and I never understood that. I mean, I guess if you want people to actually come see something really high end, or if you maybe you make a piece of jewelry and you don't want someone to copy your style, but I had a different approach. I would say if people be like, "Can I take a picture of your stuff?" I would be like, "Of course." If you're gonna post it on social media, please tag me in it. I would love to see. So that I would ask that of people. I'm like, "Hey, if you're gonna post my stuff online, please tag me in it." But I'd be happy to let people take pictures of my stuff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say what Jeffrey was gonna say too. A lot of people are probably looking for ideas. Um, and I know that me, I'm very easily forgetful. So when I'm walking around a show, like if I see, like for instance, if I go to a Christmas market and I see an ornament, I'll take a photo of the booth or of the exact ornament, and then like as I'm getting ready to leave, I'm like, man, I really wanted that, and I'll go back and do it, and grab it. But I don't know. I think a good portion of it is of people is trying to get ideas and brainstorm, and they might be people who are just starting out like you guys to be like, man, that's a really cool sphere that I want to get to the point of making, or this person had a really nice collection.
Man, all right. And yes, you definitely want to set up your business the right way. You want to actually register. Well, I would say do it as a hobby first. Don't register your business. Just do it as a hobby. When you do your taxes, you can do it as a hobby business. And when you're doing shows like this, they give you a tax form to fill out so you can pay the taxes. And then, pay your taxes on the end of the year at like a hobby as a hobby. And if you're like, man, this could really be successful, that's when you go to I'm actually registering this as a business and filing my quarterly taxes. If you're just doing it as a hobby, there's a place on your taxes to file it as a hobby. If you want to make it an actual legit business, work toward that. Don't start there. Because the paperwork will get you so hung up on so many things that you'll have a hard time getting momentum. Let's see. I saw a question about the marketplace. On marketplace, think about how people would find your your stuff. Um, if if you were gonna go search for a Laguna agate sphere on Facebook Marketplace, how do you think people are gonna find that? And that's how you gotta promote it. Because very few people are going to search Laguna Agate Sphere. Um, but so you want to think about home decor, um, an aesthetically pleasing piece to bring in, comfort into your home or a splash of color into your home. Things, phrases like that, and say things like hashtag home decor, bright colors, aesthetically pleasing. I'd go as far as putting things like self-care on there. Oh, you got to take care of yourself and get a beautiful sphere. Because if you just put rough rock, Laguna agate, sphere, the hashtags like that, you're probably not going to get as much traction. Yes, I do like having signage, although this picture, let's see if I can find some of these other pictures for you guys. I did not have signs in this particular picture because, as I said, it's important to just get started. Don't get hung up on the fact that there's so many things that you could be doing that maybe you're not doing. Let's see. Oh, here's a good picture to show you guys. All right. Can you guys see this picture?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So you can actually see I did a rock show last February, And I made Sherman and John let me do it as a Highland Park thing. So that's a sign that we made and put on the back. And then, of course, we had sign up in the front here. The Rock on Utah, that's my dad's sign. You can see we put QR codes right on the sign so people could save the information. And of course, there's a better view of that light that I was saying you guys should look into. We did shoot some machine videos there, Terry. Terry actually helped me shoot a really great video. I think we posted that up. I'll have to get the team to share those again. Those were good videos. I would say that there's not one best place, Randy. I would say that you kind of have to look at around. So like I don't know what area you're in, Randy, but like I would do a bunch of different shows in Utah and around Utah. And I would take when I first started, I would take a variety of everything that I had to every one of those shows. And I would track what sold good and what like I did well with. And then if I did the show again, I would focus on more of those things instead of trying to bring everything to the show because then I could find the shows that did the best. Or if I was like, man, my focus is on Cabochons and Cabochons did not do well at that show, I just wouldn't do that show. I would go find a different show to do. Yeah, and this actually talks, is a good thing to bring us into the next thing to talk about, is you have to present at your show. Um, a lot of people I will see sitting behind their booth, texting on their phone or watching videos or kind of just sitting there shooting the breeze and not really interacting with customers. And that is not a great way to make sales. That is a great way to be bored all weekend. When I'm doing a show, I am almost always standing out near the front of the booth, greeting every single person that walks by. And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be aggressive with it. You can just big smile on my, like, I'll literally sit there like this. I'll just stop showing this. I'll sit there like this, big smile on my face. I'll be looking around as people walking by. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? How's your day? You having fun at the rock show? Things like that. And that's going to be very inviting for people to come look at your stuff. I can't tell you how many people would have just walked right by the booth, except for I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they walked up and started looking at things. So you have to be inviting to people. If you're sitting back there like this behind your booth, here I'll turn the camera. This a lot of people sit back behind their booth like this. You're not going to have great sales. Yes, Gregory brings up a very good point. Do not spend more than you're making at the rock show. We have any of us that have done a rock show are probably guilty of that. So for sphere pricing, um, and this is again goes back to tracking. You should be part of your inventory tracking. You should be tracking when you buy a piece of rough, how much you spent on it, and what you make out of that piece of rough. Um, But what I would do is generally a sphere would be three times the price of the piece of rough. So if I spent $200 on the piece of rough and it would make one decent ball, then I would generally it would be a $600 sphere. If I spent $200 on a piece of rough and it would make four spheres, that were all decent size, I would be like, all right, it was about $50, so they could be 150 a sphere. And then the rest of the material would get cut up and either sold as slabs or cabochons. But that's a good way to do it because then you're not trying to figure out a price formula, excuse me, for every sphere. Because going from a 2-inch sphere to a 3-inch sphere, if you're charging by the inch, is not a big price difference, but a very big difference in how much material you use. Some people also price the spheres by weight. But generally, three times the price of the rough was a good guideline for buying and selling, like buying the rough and selling the spheres. Sometimes they would be more, sometimes they would be less. Sometimes I'd buy a $10,000 piece of rough and maybe it wouldn't cut a $30,000 sphere. Maybe it only cut a $20,000 sphere and I could be happy with that. Or maybe I bought a $20 piece of rough and I was like, "Oh, dang, I got 200 bucks for that sphere." Um, so it's not an exact science, but something to pay attention to. And you have to account for every bit of the cost. So the best sphere sizes to sell are going to be 2 to 4 inch. Those are by far the most popular range of spheres. Um, I always would say start on the smaller end and work your way up. Selling a bigger sphere is a lot harder than it is to sell a smaller sphere. Thank you, Terry. I really appreciate that. Terry and I have done a lot of shows together. Terry's a lot of fun to hang out with. Yeah, and know your audience too. Like that's kind of goes back to what I was saying with Randy's question. I may not take $10,000 spheres to a particular show that I know that they're not going to sell at. I may take one to grab people's attention, but maybe I'll take a lot of like $100 spheres. Oh my goodness, marbles were super popular. And that's another area actually that I was kind of subsidizing my business, where I would cut, really nice little marbles, and I would buy and resell more affordable marbles. Like getting little amethyst marbles, you can buy super cheap, and you can offer them really cheap. Little kids love to buy them, and then you can cut your $100 marbles that you enjoy actually cutting. And this is a really good point to you see we talk about this a lot on the live events when we're like cut unique helpful, I'm sorry, cut unique amazing pieces. You do not want to be competing with China, the Philippines, India for cutting. They're going to do it so much cheaper than you possibly can. So it's okay to maybe buy stuff that's already been cut and polished that's, good quality and resell it and focus on the higher end unique pieces. Like you're never gonna catch me cutting 1 inch amethyst marbles that are just plain purple unless it's phenomenal because I know I can go buy them really cheap. I'd much rather cut like let's say a Andromeda Jasper marble and sell that. Thanks, Tad. I'm glad that was helpful. And if you guys have any questions, Tay and I were talking about this earlier. The only dumb question is the question not asked. There's a lot of things that I know that I talk about as if like, oh God, that's obvious. How could you not know that? Because I've literally been doing this since I was a child. There's a lot of things I don't know, and there's a lot of things I still don't know. Um, so ask questions because nobody's going to shame you for asking a question. And I guarantee if you have a question, there is 15 other people at least thinking about it. Hey, Mark. On pricing cabs, so how I did the cabs was, and again, this came from a lot of experience, but I would look at I would cut a batch of cabs. Generally, I was cutting, like 50 to 150 cabs at a time was kind of like an average batch. I'd take the smallest cab, a middle-sized cab, and the largest cab, and I'd weigh out each of them and determine what I thought was a fair price for them and that I was comfortable getting paid. And I would average out the gram weight, and then I would price all of them by the gram based on that. And if there was some that were a little bit better, I might price them a little bit higher. If there was some a little bit lower, I might price them lower. But generally, what I would do is figure out one weight. Personally, I would not cut a cab for less than $2 a gram is a good base weight to put it at. But if you cut really big, heavy cabs, that's going to make them really expensive. So something to consider. I was cutting generally thinner, smaller cabs. So kind of figure out a base range for you and make sure you're covering your cost of material, your time, the fact that you are going to pay taxes on this if you're doing it as a business. Those are all things that you have to factor into it. Um, so, figure out a base weight. And then what I would do personally is I would put the cabochons out, and generally on a new tray, I would not offer a discount. And I'd let people buy up the cabochons. And when I got to the about 8 month range of having those cabochons, then I would start discounting them heavily after people had already picked all the best ones. And because at a year, I did not want that inventory anymore. I hated having inventory for more than a year because generally if you're doing rock shows, you're doing the same show every year. So if you go to a rock show in January and December comes around and you have all the same inventory, you don't want to be showing up at that January show again with that same stuff. So at 8 months, I would be like, all right, now it's time to discount it, get rid of it, get fresh inventory in. Yeah, David, I would definitely think about if you have like garden pieces, offering those at a different price than like let's say cutting material. I don't know what your claim is on. Um, But if you have nice cutting material, you got to factor in your labor. You are not free. So figure out what you're worth and what you're going to pay yourself hourly to dig it. Figure out your tool costs, how much, your claim fees, those are not cheap. And what it takes to actually get it out of the ground and get it home ready to sell because you do have a cost even if it's not you went and bought something. So if for doing photography, the real balance there is to not make your stuff look better than it looks in real life. So I would say with most people, starting with a cell phone, because most people are not going to go out and buy a nice camera to start. Like if you're just getting into this, you're probably starting with a cell phone. I would take them outside. I would find a nice clean area, maybe like grass or a wood background, and I would take a picture in the sunlight and do no editing. And in the description of that, I would say this photo was, in the bottom of your description, put this photo was taken with an iPhone 17 in natural sunlight with no edits. So that way people have a baseline of like your photography. If you took a picture, maybe if you're doing a slab, take a picture wet and dry and tell people this is a wet picture, this is a dry picture. Um, so if you're doing things like that, have something for scale in the picture because people often will be like, "Oh God, that's way bigger or way smaller than I thought it was." So have your dimensions in there and have something in the picture for scale. Keith, I did not do enough palm stones to really say for sure what would be the best palm stone size. What I would say is think about what the average hand size is and what fits comfortable in an average sized hand. Think about, women who are going to have maybe way smaller hands than what you can imagine. And maybe dudes that, have way bigger hands than you can imagine and have a little bit of that kind of range. But just think about what the average size is going to feel comfortable with. So $2 a gram, like if I took a piece of maybe 10 or $15 a pound material and cut a tray of cabs out of it, the least that I'm going to mark those cabs is going to be about $2 a gram. That's still pretty affordable for a lot of materials, but that's really like on the low end of what I was charging. Some of the cabs that I was offering were as much as like $50 a gram, but I'd say $2 was like the very least that I'm gonna do to account for the rough in my cutting. That's where videos are really helpful, Peter. But we did a photography cut and chat. And one of the things that we talked about in there is when you take a picture, having a little bit of the sun glare or the light glare on the polished face actually helps show that it has a really nice shine to it. So, Jeannie, for selling multiple things at like, rough and slabs and finished jewelry, I would kind of separate it. So, like, if I was going to do a two table show, I would have one side with all of my jewelry laid out nicely. for someone that wants to look at jewelry. And then my other side would be set up in like bins of water and rough for the people that are going to want to come up and dig through the slabs and look at the rough. And I would try to make it look like two different booths as much as possible so that you kind of have two different setups. Because I used to do that and I'd make it look like it was almost two different booths so that you'd have the people that would stand there and look at the jewelry, and you'd have the people that stand there and look at the rough. Someone mentioned it earlier, giving stuff away to kids, and that can actually hurt you depending on your booth. Think about your clientele when you're thinking about how you set up your booth. And I'm going to use extreme examples just to get you guys thinking about it, but think about it for whatever price range that you're going to sell stuff. If you had a wealthy middle-aged woman looking for a $15,000 necklace. I know, extreme example. But these are realities for some people. So I want you guys to think about the extreme example. They probably are not going to want to stand there and look at that piece of jewelry with a bunch of little kids running around and playing at the booth. On the flip side, if you have somebody that's looking at, slabs and rough and things like that, they probably aren't going to go to the people that have the nice glass cases with the really high-end jewelry in them. So think about your audience. So my dad does a spin table where he does $1, a $3, and a $5 spin, I think, for little kids. And there's a board that has a grid on it and a wheel with matching numbers, so they can pay $1, spin it, and win whatever's on that number. I would put that wheel, because we would often set up together, I'd put that wheel as far away from the high-end cabs as I possibly could get it, because I did not want all the little kids standing around the high-end cabs. I love the little kids playing with the rocks. I didn't want them standing around all the high-end cabs for those customers, because those customers didn't want to deal with all the little kids running around them. So think about who's going to be standing at your booth for your customers when you think about how you have that set up. I did not have liability insurance. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of cheap, affordable options out there. Definitely look into having it. Any business should have liability insurance. Adrian, are you talking about like showing a piece of rough for like the jewelry, or are you talking about like how to sell a piece of rough? Oh, awesome! They have the photography kit and chat on there. Yeah, any $5 item is great for kids. I think you can, Leslie. For jewelry, so what a really great thing for you could do, Adriana, to jewelry for jewelry. If you let's say you make a necklace out of lapis, that's a really great piece. Take a slab off of that rock and take a picture of the piece of jewelry on the slab, or do a side by side picture and be like a this to this photo, before and after. And people will love to see that kind of progression. But I love when people will take a piece of jewelry and put it on the piece of rough it came off of to display it. I think that's a really cool way to display it. Oh, that's so funny, Ed. Yeah, having a sample of the rough of the jewelry is a great idea. Yeah, I love it when people take their jewelry and they lay it out on the pieces of rough. I think that's a great way to display it. Makes it look very aesthetically pleasing. Gives some nice pop of color to your table. And yeah, sell the rough chunks there too while you're at it. Let's see. I think we covered good chunk of it. I would display agates in pairs as a general rule. Let's see. Man, I'm sad that all these photos disappeared. There was a bunch of photos I wanted to show you guys. Cabs is always what sold the best for me. But also whatever you focus on is going to be what grows. I don't know that I could pick an actual favorite piece of rock, but if I had to pick right now, it would probably be that copper chrysocolla. Let's see. Let me see if I can find some of the trays of cabs. Show you guys. So knowing the location and the background of the stone, I would say to some people is very important and to other people not important at all. Um, One of the things that I would get asked the most when selling like the cabochons was, are they ethically sourced? A lot of people they don't want jewelry that they think came, from somewhere with horrific conditions, which is one of the things that I actually really liked about working with John and Sherman, is I knew that any of the rough that they were getting was ethically mined and sourced, and I could feel good about those pieces. Or a lot of the things I'd work at, I worked a lot directly with miners. Because I'd been in the business so long. Like I had friends in Brazil and Indonesia and China that I would get stuff from, and I could see the mining conditions, and they would be like, I could show people, and I'd be like, yeah, I know this was ethically sourced, nothing to worry about on where it came from. People, that would be the question I'd get asked the most. Then you would get some people that are like, yeah, I want to know the location of where it came from. Things like that. Maybe tell a story. Being able to tell a story is so important for selling. Let's see. I was going to talk about one other thing with the trays. Oh, this is a good tray to show you guys. The cabs were just polished. Most of them were just on the top. A lot of wire wraps. Mostly the people I'd sell them to were actually silversmith. That was pretty cool, Daniel. That's awesome, Daniel. With turquoise cabs, people are gonna want to know location, and I would say nice trays of consistent color will be really helpful for you. So for the agate halves, some people will only sell them as a pair. I personally Um, don't mind selling just a half. Some pairs I think are so good that they have to stay together. So I would just tell people, I will only sell this pair together. Or some of them I'd be like, this is the price if you want both. This is the price if you want just one. But that's something that you have to personally decide. A premium for locally sourced material as a general rule. Material is almost always more expensive from where it comes from. Like Larimar is a perfect example. I know a lot of people that have been to the Dominican Republic. It is way more expensive to buy there at the mine than it is anywhere else in the world. A lot of Utah materials people will be a lot more drawn to. Sometimes I'll offer a discount on the pair. It really depends on the pair. Sometimes let's say maybe you got a pair that's $550 a half. And or maybe you'll sell this set for 1,000. Or maybe you're like, man, these pairs are so good that like I don't care if you buy it as a pair or the halves. Either way, it's going to be 550 a half. So this is a tray of the like cabs, like how I would sell them. These are just sitting on top of this cotton in there. And I liked trays that were all one uniform color. So like I had a tray of purple labradorite. I had a tray of like the golds and the green labradorite. But like this was like the premium blue that I had all sorted out as labradorite cabochons. Um, the but I liked it all uniform color. But they're just sitting loose on here, and then I'd put the lids underneath them or put a stack of the lids behind the tray. Labradorite and turquoise cabs were always the ones that I did the best with. What most sellers are doing wrong is a really hard thing to say. I would say that the top few things that I see most people doing wrong is that they have no real path of where they want to go. They have no inventory or tracking management. Um, and they're not sure of their cost. I think not knowing your cost when doing business is probably the number one mistake I see. Yeah, I mean, you could charge 25% more. I generally when I sell an agate pair, it's pretty close to the same price if you buy the set or one half. Sometimes I'll offer a discount if you buy both. Yeah, on their phone not engaging. So how I would price slabs generally is if you let's say you got a very square blocky piece and let's say you paid $100 for it. And you get 15 slabs out of there. So you got your $100 divided by the 15. So your rough cost is $6.66 a slab. That's just for the rough. That's not the cutting. I would say that you would probably want to be at least three times that price to make decent money. Like if you're like, I don't want to get rich at this, I just want to pay for the hobby. I would say doing a three-time markup will probably be enough to cover your cost and make a little extra. So you're $20 a slab would be how I would do that math. If you have one where you got maybe, the slabs vary quite a bit, figure out about a price per square inch or weigh them and just know that you have to account for the loss of the blade. And it's all about just breaking it down. There's many ways you can break it down. It's just about having a system of how you do that. No, that's really interesting. I love that. Thank you, Denise. I've never had a show require me to have insurance, but that's really interesting to see, and I bet more and more shows are going to do that because it's a smart thing to have. Any other questions you guys have? Leading up to Christmas is always the best, going to be your busiest time for almost any retail business. We had some of that Labradorite. We need to get more of that. I need to bug John about getting more of that Labradorite. And with slabs too, I always like uh writing the price in Sharpie on the corner of the slabs, because then it's you don't get them confused. A lot of times you'll see people with, and that's a very common way to do it at shows too. Like I hate buying anything by the weight on when you're buying like one little thing like that. Like sure, if I'm buying a bunch of stuff or rough, no problem by the weight. But if I'm like looking at one slab, like I just want to know the price of that slab. I don't want to know how much it is a gram or a pound or like just have it written on there. You'll sell way more that way. We're out of Labradorite that's as good as those cabs I was showing you. We do have Labradorite. I prefer having the table out front because people are more likely to see what you have. And I feel like it's more inviting for them to be able to walk up to the table than to have to like I hate walking into a booth where I have to walk past the person. So often I'll just skip those booths because I just want to walk down the aisle and see what catches my eye. So I would say if you got a 10 by 10 foot booth, I would put out on the corner or out on the edge so that you can stand behind the table. Um, that's a great question, Keith. Because I was selling mostly to people that were making jewelry, I rarely did anything other than just rock and mineral shows. But one of the things that I did that was really great for my business is I had people that would teach wire wrapping classes and silversmithing classes, and I would go set up a table of cabs at the class and let people buy before and after the class. And often the people running the class would either get a small cut or they'd get some free cabochons. And it was a very, low cost way of doing it, and I could generate really good sales that way. I really didn't do any special events. I did one really exclusive gem and mineral show. It was $5,000 for a 10 by 10 foot booth, and it's the worst show I ever did. It was super bougie and super luxury, and I did not even pay for the booth. Like honestly, doing little rock shows were always my favorite. I way rather do like a little club show than one of the more exclusive events. Yeah, you could do it with an aluminum pencil. If I was doing jewelry, Keith, or if I got more into the high-end spheres, I think that would be a really great idea. I think if you were selling slabs or rough or loose cabochons, then you're probably not going to have much success doing that. But if you were like, man, I'm going to sell high-end spheres or finished jewelry, I think that would be an awesome thing to try. Because you got to think about the people there and what they might be interested into, and like what's your audience. So if you think about just the average winery, how many people there are going to be jewelry makers? Probably not enough to set up and sell cabochons, but finished jewelry or spheres or things like that, I think that you could do really great with that. Decor pieces, definitely. Polished slabs. I love to sell the polished slabs. Yeah, tailgate could be fun if you were selling more affordable things. If you were doing a tailgate kind of show. Wine stoppers, people make those out of stone. Finished agates, I've never had much luck with at shows. Always did better with finished agates online. I have not found a show that is really, really great for finished agates. Yeah, if you were like, a concert would be a great place to set up and do like $20 pendants. So, but like I think it's really important to look at what you're gonna sell and what the audience is gonna be. Oh, that's really cool, Terry. Yeah, and honestly, I'd look at building your own website too and promoting it on social media. I think social media is such a powerful tool that honestly, for me personally, I probably would never set up an Etsy or eBay shop again. Because they take such high fees that I think you're way better off getting on somewhere like TikTok and Instagram and showing you doing the work, like making a sphere or making a piece of jewelry and having that linked to your website, because it's really easy to build a website these days. Is Lizelle on?
Yes, I'm here.
Do we have somebody that could do a like basic building a website cut and chat?
somebody from the team.
The team or maybe in the customer base. We should look at having somebody do um a like how to build a basic website cut and chat.
Yep, we can check.
That's definitely not a me cut and chat, you know. So the one thing to consider with selling somewhere like eBay or Etsy is you have to adhere to their business practices. Like eBay gives you what, 3 days to ship something. If you're somebody that has a hard time falling into that category, of getting it out in 3 days, probably not somewhere to look. If eBay decides that you're in the fault and you have to, you're not getting paid for something because the customer's like, oh, I never got it, even if they did, and they refund the customer, you have to be okay with that. So really reading their terms and conditions is a good place to start and be like, man, am I really comfortable with that? People buying on eBay is a very different vibe than people buying on Etsy, and there's different norms that you have to adhere to for those things. So definitely something to consider. And like if I was doing nicer jewelry or high-end spheres, I probably wouldn't really do that much posting on eBay. I'd probably go more to Etsy. If I was selling rough rock, I probably lean more towards eBay. Yeah, Squarespace, I've not built a Squarespace website, but I've heard good things. Thanks, Leslie. Yeah, it's really easy to build a website actually. I've built a few of them over the years. Nothing crazy, but I know that any of you guys in here with a little help could easily build a website. And then yeah, you got a lot of fees with selling on eBay and Etsy. I'm just going through and reading all the comments. Hey, Jim. Oh yeah, I've had things where I sold on eBay and the customer was like, "It's not what I was expecting," and they put in a claim with eBay, and eBay decides that you're giving them a refund, and whether they return it or not, and there's so there's things like that that you have to be aware of. Sometimes it's a little like, "Oh, learning experience that was painful." Yeah, building a customer base on Facebook is very common. My best customer base that's just a free customer base was actually Instagram. Posting up cutting videos of like the sphere making. I got tons of business through Instagram when I was doing that. That's funny, Jeffrey. Yeah, eBay can be a good place, but it can also be a tough place. Oh, that's awesome, Sarah. Now that's a good point to mention, Glenn, on owning your own domain. Yeah, and a lot of places that do consignment are gonna want 50% or close to that, 40 to 50%. That's very normal for consignment. One of the other things that I'll mention, and I know a lot of people are really gonna struggle with this, if you're trying to build a base from nowhere, like you have no following and you're starting from scratch, you need to be super consistent with posting and really engaging. And you need to think about your content, like how people are going to watch that. Like I've certainly made videos where I posted them up and someone else would watch them and be like, "Why did you think that was a good idea?" That's not engaging or inviting or got no traction. So you'd look at the feed, the analytics on it, and you'd be like, "Man, nobody watched this. They clicked off instantly." So think about how people are going to view your content. And then like posting 3 times a day is kind of the minimum. Our goal is actually 6 times a day, Lizelle,
I know.
If you follow some of the bigger people, bigger influencers like Alex Hermosi is somebody I really love for learning about social media and marketing. I think some of their pages are up to like 13 posts a day, which sounds daunting, but you can get there. I'm not saying start tomorrow. You have to do 13 pieces of content every day. Start with once a day. When you can get that down consistently, get to twice a day. Um, 3 times a day is a really good place to get to if you're, just getting started, but also just engaging. TikTok, for instance, each platform will reward you differently. TikTok will reward you for actually using their own platform. So if you post on TikTok, your content will do better if you're interacting with other people's content. So if you just go on there and just post and then leave the platform, it probably won't do as good as if you get on there, watch a bunch of videos, interact, comment, like, share, and then go post your content. So you can actually look up, there are plenty of like YouTube videos on how to interact on every platform, because each platform is going to reward you differently, and focus on one. Don't try to be an influencer on every social media platform. Pick one. Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Start there. Build a platform, and when you have a little bit of a following, then start on the next one. Yeah, and getting other people to vouch for you on Facebook is a great way to start too. Being like, hey, here's a customer that bought from me. Oh yeah, building a business is a lot less about cutting and polishing the rocks. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. And to Jeffrey's point, Jeffrey has a great point on learning hashtags. I actually would use the software, I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called Hashtag. It was an app that you could subscribe to, and they would generate, you'd put in 3 things, and it would generate 30 hashtags for you. So you could do things like that if you're not like, man, I don't really want to learn hashtags. There's lots of software to help you with this. Yeah, I sold jewelry and offered silversmithing at various points in time. I was never a great silversmith, but I did enjoy it. That's so funny, Carl. That definitely will not hurt you as badly as you think it will. It's not like I have this magical voice, Having a little southern twang ain't gonna hurt at all. A lot of it is just doing it consistently. I guarantee any of you could be successful in a rock business if you commit to being consistent and, delivering on that constantly. Consistency is really the key to success. That determination to keep showing up. Like, gosh, I watch some of the videos that I make even recently, and I'm like, oh God, that's me. But keep putting it out there. Do better next time. Lizelle is great. Lozella is definitely the kind of person you want to look for when you get an organization. Thanks, Nancy. I just got toward Jordan's comment. Well, and one of the important things that John and Sherman talk about a lot is what you believe is what you say, and what you say becomes your reality. If you're in the mindset of, I cannot do this, or there's no buyers, or there's whatever, then that is going to be your reality. One of the reasons that I was successful, not because I had any magical abilities, is because I was like, oh God, I know I can do this. I'm going to keep doing this. And when it sucked, I was like, I just sucked this time. It'll be better next time. Optimism will take you very far in life. Um, so you have to believe in yourself. And if you're in a mindset of, Oh, well, there's no customers. How do you get customers? You got to flip it into a positive mindset of, okay, I don't have any customers right now. What can I do to get customers? Um, you really have to be in a positive mindset to be successful. Lozelle is a philosopher, yes. It's funny. I was watching a video and they were talking about a study that they did. This is an old study where they looked at a bunch of college kids and determined what made them successful. And the number one thing that they could determine over, I think it was a 30-year study, was that stupid levels of optimism was the number one factor to being successful. Because you're constantly in this mindset of it's gonna work out, it will be okay, I'm gonna do better, it will get better, rather than this like, oh, this is hard and it sucks. I can tell you guys, I hate listening to the sound of my own voice. Like I hate recording videos, or at least I did. And I just started doing it. And then you realize no one really cares as much about how your voice sounds as you do. Um, if you say something dumb, you just learn from it and you just keep pushing and growing. So for any of you really just showing up and doing it, you'll be successful. And I believe in any of you that you can. Right? That's awesome, Carl, and I'm definitely gonna need that video. You gotta send that to me. Oh yeah, it's hard to get used to recording videos, especially if you don't have somebody to edit them for you. Editing a video that you recorded of yourself has got to be one of the worst experiences I can possibly describe. Queenie just brought up a really excellent point. Offering value is a really great place to start. And any of you thinking about building a business, you should go listen to Alex Hermosi's books. Um, because he'll talk about this a lot. This again comes back to that scarcity mindset of you get the old timers that go, oh, I can't tell you my secret of how I polish that because then I'll have people competing with me. Well, if you go out there and you're like, this is how I get an amazing polish on this material, or how I get an amazing polish on a sphere, and you post that up, you're going to get way more traction than if you're like, oh, here's a beautiful sphere, but I can't tell you how I did it. I don't think so, Jeanette, but that would definitely be a John question. Thank you, Jeannie. Right, do over. Oh, that's awesome, Mark. If you're really good at in-person sales and horribly camera shy, then you just have to talk to the camera like you talk to a person. And you have to get past the fact that you're talking to a camera. Like when I do the live events, I have to actually think about you guys to make a good conversation because otherwise then I'm just chatting with myself. And like I went from everything was face-to-face sales, which I'm way better at than I am online. Like I do way better standing at a rock show talking to people face to face than I do with the camera. It's just something that I had to do over and over and over again. Like I'm sure some of you guys remember my early days in the live events. Those were a lot clunkier. We're making progress. It's just about showing up and doing it. So if you think you're horrible on camera and you hate how you sound or how you talk, the only solution I really have for you to get great at it is to just do it and do it again and do it again and do it again until you're like, man, I've gotten really good at this. Yeah, for taking pictures, I highly recommend if you're just getting started to do it in natural sunlight to get started because that's a really great way to get an accurate representation. It's very hard with lighting to adjust it to get it to look natural. And if you do it with natural sunlight, it's a lot easier to get an accurate picture, especially if you're newer to photography. Right? Well, no, because like I've had conversations with um a lot of you guys, and so like I think about those kind of conversations when I'm talking to you guys on the live event, and that makes it a lot easier to talk to. And if you don't have that connection, like if you're just starting out with social media, don't think about it like you're talking to a device. Think about if you were having this conversation with a customer, how that would look. And that'll make it a lot easier to have that conversation than if you're like, "Oh, I'm just talking to the camera." Yeah, what Terry said. Yeah, it's hard getting out in front of the camera. John actually kind of made it easy for me because one of the things that he did was he did never let me be shy behind the camera. My very first live event that I was here at the warehouse for, John was just like, "All right, Zeke, hop in." It was in the middle of a live event. There was no saying like, "No, I can't do this," or "No, I need prep." It was just like, "Oh, okay." And I just started. And John really gave me no option to not just do it, and that kind of actually made it easier. Right, when Jordan peeks around the corner. Well, man, is this been helpful for you guys? Yeah, I have that problem too, Terry. Well, hey, if you guys are enjoying this information and this has been really helpful for you, I'm sure some of you already know that John has tasked me with getting more five-star Google reviews. So it'd be really helpful for me and Highland Park if you guys could go leave us a five-star Google review. That really helps our business and it helps more people discover Highland Park so that we can educate and help out. So the team just put a link in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this, I would really love it if you could click on that link and leave us a five-star Google review. Not bribery. Oh yes, the thing of things that you need for a show. Oh yeah, let me find some more pictures here. I'm so annoyed that um the pictures didn't save the way I thought they were going to.
I have a question for you guys. Would you guys be interested, for those of you that are willing, Lozelle, maybe this is something we can do and squeeze in as a cut and chat, is people like what Peter said, if you guys were comfortable displaying your setups and maybe you can ask me and Zeke questions about what you can improve on or anything, kind of like an open table experience.
Oh, I love that.
Would you guys be interested in that? Put it in the chat, that way we can gain how much interest there is. And if you don't want feedback, just be like, Zeke and Jordan, be quiet. I want to talk about it. Lizelle, let's plan that then. Kind of like a show and tell, but like an open table discussion with me and Zeke. Um, so you guys can ask us questions or anything.
Oh, all right. I found one of the pictures that I'm the most excited to show you guys. This is one of like what I would consider like peak show setups was. Um, it's just a two table show. I did this out of a little tiny Lexus. It was my stepmom's car. So I was very small setup. And I had a table in the back that I ended up setting up with a bunch of trays that people could come behind the table and look up as well. But you got all the trays laid out. You got a couple pieces of jewelry in between, and then you got a couple bigger, display pieces that were mixed in. There's a little area with a couple gemstones on it. But then behind the table, I had another table after this picture that I set up with more tables behind or more cabs laid out on it. These drapes were this particular show's, but I highly encourage getting nice tablecloths. So I don't worry about people stealing because I just factor it into the cost of doing shows. So people are gonna steal. It's just part of it. If I was gonna display bolo ties, I would display them on these same kind of neck stands that you see in here. Although there's lots of other interesting ways people will hang them on, like off of a log or something cool. Um, I always planned for a 10% shrinkage rate, Chad, but I don't think it was ever quite that high. I've never had much success selling other things, other than rock related things, but like my sister has her own brand of coffee, so it definitely can be incorporated. It's not something that I really tried.
Why did I not know that? Sorry, side note. I want some.
That's so funny. So at a show with this kind of setup, I mean, this kind of show I did not do that great at. This is the one that I was telling you guys actually that was a really expensive show to do that was horrible. But I really liked how my booth at this show. At a good show, I'd clear out maybe 7 of these trays that you can see on the table that are loaded. And there's between 50 and 100 cabs in each one of those trays. Yeah, the Crystal Barista, yeah. Yeah, I had some theft, but I don't ever think it was that high. That's hilarious, Terry. But this was a very kind of like normal style setup for what I would do. Let's see if I got any other pictures that I can share with you guys. I had them all. Oh, here's one of the last times that I did an outdoor show. So you can see in here, this one it was on like dirt. So I actually brought a rug with me and put the rug on there. And because I was in a tent, this is where I did it more, where like a customer would come in and walk through the loop. But you can see the cabs laid out in here. And I didn't bring lights to this show because there was plenty of sunlight. You guys are so funny. Let's see the list. Um, oh, let's see. I'll save your message here. I Genie and read that later. I'm too slow for reader. Um, let's see. What was I saying? Oh, list of things. Um, labels for like labeling your stuff. Stickers are really good. You can put on the back of something like a cab, or a sphere. Scissors, paper, markers, pens. Thank you bags, wrapping paper, tables, even. Oh, Marvin, do you have the poem?
Oh yeah, Zeke. Do you want me to read it out loud now?
Yes, please.
All right. So this poem is written by Sir Zeke Dalrymple from the Great Kingdom of Utah. Hear ye, hear ye. Bring your tables big or small. Folding, rolling, bring them all. Bring your tables loud, I plea. Otherwise, the floor is where you'll be. We will laugh with love we truly care as you sit cross legged selling there. So bring your tables, don't forget. Bring your tables, are we set? Signed by your show host who does not have extra tables. That's it, Zeke.
So
Commence the
actually,
show
my
again.
my sister wrote that because at every single show, somebody forgets to bring the tables, their tables. Um, so please remember tables. She wrote that to start sending out to people, because every time, she would have people. But let's see, we were at tables, tablecloths, lights, clamps. Be able to clamp your light to the table, clamp tablecloths down to the table. That's important. Bring extension cords, bring tape. Tape down extension cords, be able to tape bags shut, things like that. You'll want a cash till. Your pocket is not appropriate cash till, which a lot of people do. A card reader. You want a cart and a dolly, something to be able to haul all your stuff in and out. Have it organized so that you can bring it in and out smoothly and efficiently. And then of course your display stands, sphere stands, slab holders, things like that, whatever you're showing. Bins if you're doing buckets of slabs, stuff like that. Having trays are also really good. So like I would have little black trays. They were maybe 7 inches by 7 inches that people could walk around my tables and fill with the cabs. So then bring to me to do the purchase. Yeah, and like as you can even see in that picture that I was showing, I had a rug down because it was an outdoor show. We should have them write more poems. Also another really good thing to bring for people is a chair for customers to sit in. I cannot tell you how many times where you had a couple, um, where you get one person that's like, "Oh gosh, you're stopping to look at another booth," and the other person's like, "Well, they're just such nice cabs that I gotta stop and look." And so if you have a chair sitting there, they can be like, I can sit here and relax and not complain that my feet hurt while you look." So I would keep an extra chair or two there too for customers to sit in. Oh, that's a good idea, Anita. Right, Victor? Not mocking Terry. I'm the same way. If you took me to, I can't even imagine. What was that Christmas show you did, Jordan?
What?
What was like the Christmas show that you did? Like it was like an arts and craft.
Yeah, like the holiday fair.
Yeah, see, that would be me at that show. Of like, oh, is there a chair?
Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know. We always bring extra like for those we bring extra chairs. We always have like scotch tape. You can never have too many chargers. We bring two of the rolling wagons for stuff to break down and set up because it's just faster that way. Um, what else? Um, she invested in a really big battery pack where you charge all your devices on. Make sure all your devices are plugged in before you go. Plenty of waters because you're gonna get parched from talking, so make sure you stay hydrated. Um, what else? Trying to think of things like last second. Yeah, food, like snacks to keep you throughout the day. Make sure you take your bathroom break right before you start, because I know sometimes right when the doors open to shows, you can sometimes get flooded in the beginning. You don't want to step away because I found that most people come back to your booth. They're more likely to come back around after like the first go around right in the beginning of the day. Yeah, chairs are awesome. And what's really helpful is if you're at an indoor event where you are able to have walls behind you, if you can find some way to get your signage taller than you and up where people can spot it, that'll be a good way for people to see you from across the room. But yeah, definitely the biggest piece to that, like after all your prep work and everything, once you kind of get there and like the setup is most of the stress. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my goodness, does this look perfect? Do I need to move this piece a little over? And once people start coming to your booth, just being yourself and being warm. I said it earlier, a simple hi. Can you mute? I'm hearing myself twice. A simple hi or hello really goes a long way. You know what I mean? And you don't even have to be fantastic in customer service, but most people, it's nice and you guys know as a buyer, it's nice to be greeted, when you come in the room. And certainly we try to do that as much as we can. Doing your inventory is huge. Being very, Zikri, I know, me and him are a lot different, but getting really dialed in your inventory. Like for the shows that I do with my best friend's mom, like I'll help her out. I do her inventory for her during the shows. So whenever someone buys something, I write down the SKU of what they bought. You know what I mean? And you don't need to have an exact system for that. You know what I mean? But know what you go with, and have a really good idea when you leave. And that's really to help kind of drive demand for your next show. You know what I mean? And you can look back at that log when you're going to do that show a year later. You're going to be like, man, in the springtime, I killed it with those bumblebee cabs. So all of that kind of stuff, will really set you up for success for years to come. And definitely filing stuff away, and keeping it very organized is important to kind of keep a log of how you did in years past. But that's what I got for you guys.
Yeah, dressing appropriately can definitely help too. And I would actually say overdressing can be problematic. So definitely dress appropriately for what you're selling. If you are selling Rough Rock, a suit and tie is definitely not the way to go. If you're selling high-end jewelry, cargo shorts and flip-flops are not the way to go. So dress. I would say think about what your buyers are going to wear and wear something similar. Um, would be a good way to put it because you're going to want something that's going to feel comfortable to the buyer. People want to feel comfortable. I like it, Peter. But it depends on the show. And so, but make people feel comfortable. Like if I was going to be out selling Rough Rock, I would be wearing exactly what I'm wearing right now. I'd be wearing a t-shirt, I'd be wearing my work pants, and I'd be wearing my work boots. And that's going to be what a lot of people buying Rough Rock are going to be in a similar attire. If I was at a really high-end show and I was selling really high-end spheres, I'd be wearing either a polo shirt or I'd be wearing a button-down shirt with a bolo tie. Um, so think about what your customers are going to be wearing and what's going to be in their comfortable range. What Michael's saying right here, this might be the most important thing that's been mentioned all night. Smuggle spicy nuggets in for your friends. That's a great way to do things. For you guys that don't know, Mike, I was at the show last year in Utah, and Michael smuggled me in a bag of spicy chicken nuggets, and it was life-saving.
I hope you know that for all of you guys to know, Michael will occasionally sign off his email as the Nuggler. Um, so that is that is what I know Michael as now, because Zeke called me after he did that, and it was hilarious.
It is pretty funny. Awesome. Well, do you guys have any other questions? There's all kinds of great things that we can cover. Oh, I know one more thing that we need to cover. Um, you need to think about what your policies are going to be before they happen. And what I mean by that is walk yourself through every scenario that you think might be a possibility when you're selling and ask yourself what your response is going to be. If you have a kid knock over a tray of cabs and they all break, what do you do? If someone wants to return something, what do you do? One thing that I had to learn the hard way was you actually cannot give a refund in a different form of payment. So if someone pays with a card, you cannot give them a cash refund. Um, so it's something to consider. What is your policy on that? If someone wants to return something that they just bought, what do you do? So it doesn't matter what your answer is. If it's a no, all sales final, or if it's I don't care, I'm happy to take it back. There is no wrong answer. But you need to know what your answer is going to be ahead of time. Because if you have to decide in the moment, it's going to be a lot harder for you to make that decision in the moment than if you've already pre-decided what your answer is going to be. So just any scenario that you can think of, come up with an answer before you do an event like that. Awesome. Anything else you guys want to cover? That's true. Setup is never going to go perfect. It is, you can get as close to perfect as you want, but something is always going to go wrong, or there's not going to be set up quite on time, or you're not going to be able to park as close. You can just be prepared and be maneuverable. Being able to pivot under stress is going to be very helpful when growing a business. Yes, being well, Anita, you bring up a really good point, and this goes for, really anybody in life. This is some great advice. Being able to look at a situation from someone else's point of view and ask yourself, well, how would I feel in that situation, is a really great way to conduct yourself. Because if you have a partner, you want to be able to be like, what is their point of view on a situation and evaluate, okay, if I was in their shoes, would I be happy? Too many people get caught up in the, oh, what about me? And not look at the world from someone else's perspective, um, to judge if their actions need adjustment or not. So very good way to do that, to, look at how the world looks from someone else's eyes and evaluate. Dang, you got 200 machines? That's really crazy.
Oh my goodness. I was so dizzy by the time the day ended. I came in at 10 a.m. this morning because I'm not here tomorrow. So, and there was a lot of stuff that came in from the containers that I had to go get out.
Let's see. Someone was asking about sphere stand, so I was seeing if I can. Oh, well, this is not a really great picture, but you can see it a little bit better. Let's see, let me screen share again. All right, you guys see this? So I could not tell you where I ordered this, but basically this is a four-tier stand that pops together. So this all breaks down flat so that you can put it in a bin or something, and it condenses down really small. And then you can put it together at the show, and it only takes a minute to put it together. I actually want John to make these, because I still have this stand. I want him to take it and start making these for us. Because honestly I couldn't tell you where I bought it, but I would look up like a three or four tier stand, like a wood stand, and see if you could probably find something similar. This one was really heavy duty. So I think this one was a little expensive. It was like $280 or something, but it's so worth it. Team, do you want announce that when we go for our spin? You do see that in there, Terry. Yeah, you could make the really easy to make these. Yeah, the stands they're on are just acrylic rings. Yeah, that's a great idea, Cynthia. Now, I'll give you guys one other little tip that I thought was a good idea that turned out to be a really bad idea. So, my dad puts almost all of his spheres on old, like when we're out on a mine site, he'll gather up all the old, like nuts and, pipe pieces and valve fittings that he can use as sphere stands. And they look pretty cool. But what I discovered is that every person that walks up in this and looks at a sphere rotates it. And they don't lift it to rotate it, they rotate it on the stand. And so the first time I displayed spheres, I used some of those nuts and various metal parts. And I had to repolish all of the softer materials because as they rotated them in the stands, the metal ones just put these horrible gouges in the spheres. And so like some of that softer aragonite, very painful because I had to redo all of them. Yeah, you 3D printed ones look cool. We also sell really fancy sphere stands. What I like about these acrylic ones is that they're really easy to throw in a bin, and you can give them to. They're so cheap, you just give them to the customers when they buy the sphere. Because that's something that a lot of people don't think about. If you buy a sphere, what do you put it on? Yeah, you could sell them too. I always just gave them one of these little acrylic rings when I sold the spheres. Well, yeah, Ed, but a lot of people don't already have a sphere stand. Oh, look at that blue chalcedony. I love that blue chalcedony on the very top left. That's funny, Peter. Awesome. Any other questions? Anything else you guys want me to try and show or? All right, grab some coral.
100% James.
I do really like the coral. This is a fun one to heat treat too. I can't wait till John gets us set up with a kiln to do that. Let's see, we'll throw a couple pieces in.
I know. And you know what's funny about my birthday is that's also Chantel's 2-year anniversary here at Highland Park.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. She started on Wednesday, the 27th, and I started on Monday, April 1st.
I can't believe you guys have been here 2 years.
I know. Thank you, Michael.
It's really funny, especially if you were on last night and heard the the story from last night.
It's true. We are one big 150 unit family. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like I said, oh, let me touch on something I saw last night. I wanted to note it, but I was so tired by the end of last night. I am very thankful to all of you who were helping out the new people last night. We had a really high number of attendees in here the entire night. So I wanted to thank you guys for answering questions when you saw the chat flow by. and helping everybody out. That is greatly appreciated from me and Zeke because when the chat gets crazy like that, it's really hard to keep up. So you guys did a fantastic job, and I just wanted to extend my appreciation for that. And how can you not like being in the room with this? Like, I think this room is so much fun, and it has great vibes to it all the time. And Julie got to go home with a pretty sweet saw, which
That
I will
was awesome.
get out next week for her.
Oh man, nice chunk of appetite.
Oh, team. Marvin, is that you? Who had the winner of the closest number?
It's Jim Billick.
Congratulations, Jim. You get 3 pounds of almejo. And what was the
Congrats, Jim.
total number and what was his guess number?
So the total number for yesterday's peak attendance is 591 and Jim Billick's guess is 588. So that was the nearest. Congrats, Jim.
Congratulations, Jim. That's pretty awesome. You can cut those in the 12SS. I saw you posted up some Moroccan agates. Those were killer. See, how fun is that? You know what I mean? Like you guys get a little prize um for that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. How many spins was there last night, team? Like 16 or 17?
Around that 16 or 17.
They
17.
are no longer in the room. We're gonna spin again. That was awesome.
I was giving everyone a heart attack last night.
I know, Marvin, making everybody's heart rate go up and up. Well, Victor, did you hear us call your name? We called you a couple times. Oh, my Lanta.
I love when Victor comes in. He's like, "Yeah, I'm used to you guys messing with me. Whatever. What's the actual answer?"
He goes, you know my normal question. Is there any new rock? I love it. And John just looks and he's like, that's the relationship that they have. But that's awesome. I don't know. I'm very thankful I get to have that relationship with some of you guys. Um, it makes coming to work so much fun. And you guys are a lot more than customers to us. You know what I mean? You guys are like family and you're our friends and everything.
I don't think I could bear it if you weren't my friend.
Oh, my Lanta, Ziggurat. What are we giving away today? Ooh,
I thought that was tomorrow.
it's Jordan's birth month. We're giving
It's
something away today.
today.
Oh,
Did we pick Lizzo?
Uh, yes.
Did we?
Yes.
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 Message me, Lizelle. Zikri wasn't really part of me and Lizelle's planning for tonight because I had the time off for this weekend. I've had this since December, like 4 months ago. So I told Lizelle that we have to go crazy for my birthday because I love going crazy. I love celebrating people's birthdays. Like I don't think you guys understand. I love planning that stuff. So I like making my birthday special for you guys. How are you keeping the machine so clean? We have an awesome staff um who helps us not break down the saws, but clean up the saws at the end of every day. So they will go and clean the catch tray, the vices, and wipe them all down. That is part of Douglas's tasks actually at the end of the day. So he is very on it about that. And we have the Evercleans running and everything. But the best way to build the habit of keeping your machine clean is, like Zeke said earlier, to just keep doing it. So if you worked in food service, you kind of gained the concept of cleaning as you go. It's just something that has to be taught, and it's just practice. Lizelle, just send me a message. Oh,
Yes,
yes, you
ma'am.
did.
Of course I did.
Oh, I didn't see it on the WeChat. I was looking for it on Google. Oh, yes, we did pick that. When are we doing that? I forgot.
We can do it later.
Well, that's nice.
That's pretty. Yeah, we definitely didn't tell Zeke about that.
Lizelle already did.
Oh, she did? Okay. I never did because I couldn't remember, but I knew it was something. That Sonoran Sunrise, Zeke?
Yeah. These saws are getting
Oh,
really close to needing a good cleaning.
oh my Lanta. Lizelle's
That's a
making
very,
me Lizelle's making me nervous, but I'm excited. Go ahead, Zeke.
oh Lord, this is a very nice rounded one. I don't like this line right here though. So we'll take and cut a little bit of an angle. For a long time, Gambierias were actually known for being bigger than the Almejos. We've just had a exceptionally large batch of Almejos.
There's your 55-pound deal on the Gamberries. Happy birthday gifts.
Oh,
Lavender swirl. Zeke, can you kind of explain the lavender swirl?
what do you mean?
What is it?
It's some kind of material that probably has fluorite in it. Would be my guess. It feels kind of like a marble with fluorite in it, where you get this nice wavy pattern. I don't know if anybody's ever done any like chemical analysis on it to give you anything more accurate than that. It is really pretty though.
And then people wanted to see the green and purple jade one more time, please, and thank you.
Oh yeah.
Jay, you're wearing a pink shirt too. I love it. You're glowing. Alrighty. Tara has a question. Team, you want to put that down for Rachel, please? Tara says, "This is my first cut in chat." Well, first of all, welcome, Tara. Cut in chats are a lot of fun. And Tara goes, "I'm curious when you like to cut by hand versus with a vise." Team, you want to put that down for Jeff, please?
So that is a little bit of a tricky question because I'm going to caveat with saying it depends on what equipment you have. Um, any anytime I can use a slab saw, I would prefer to use a slab saw. Um, Especially when I'm cutting little agates, or making cabochons, I can slice it up. However, if you don't have a slab saw like this, it can be done on a trim saw, so that you can cut it down and still work your piece. But if I can't, like if I can cut an agate like this on a slab saw, I'm much happier to do it on a slab saw. Get a cleaner cut. If if I have a little piece that I can clamp in the vise, I'd much rather clamp it in the vise. If you get something that you can't clamp in the vise, that's when I'd be cutting it up by hand. Or if maybe a slab saw is out of the budget, um, that would be when I'd be like, all right, cut it by hand. So it really just depends on what options you have available to you. For a long time, I did almost all my slabbing on a trim saw. I would slab by hand and then cut out my preforms and then go to the CAD machine.
So precision of the cut mostly. Did you get the vice slide, Tara? And when you're doing the agates, just go really slow.
Are you going to be
And
using water or oil, Tara?
Z, they want to see the purple jade again.
Oh yeah, I can grab it.
Of course.
If you're going to use an oil, you're going to be getting a slicker, like a smoother cut. If you don't want to use oil, which a lot of people don't, especially if you got your hands in it all the time. If you use water, put a little drop of Dawn dish soap in your water, and it'll make the water feel wetter in an essence. Gives it a better lubricity, so it'll cut smoother. Just a small drop, yes. And one of the other things you can do too, Kara, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of cutting by hand, is you can upgrade and get like a notch rim blade or the newer continuous rim blade. The blade that comes on there is a great blade, but you can upgrade if you're doing a lot of cutting, and it'll get a little bit more free cutting on there as well. Something to think about, especially if you're going to be cutting little agate specimens. Yeah, mineral oil would definitely be my go-to if you're going to be doing slabbing on there. Um, so that's a good choice.
A 10-inch notched is phenomenal. Do you guys, um, how do you guys like those those blades? Those not the new notch trim and the continuous trim? I know a lot of you have been using them. I believe you only get the option for the notched on that 18-inch Tom. I think the continuous only goes up to a 16-inch.
The continuous goes up to 14, and after that, you would need to go to the notch.
Oh, okay. The notched is awesome, Tom. You have that notch trim on the 24, right, Seek?
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's
It's
so quiet.
awesome. That's a great saw to get, Victor. That is my favorite. Maybe we can, I feel like Zeke, maybe we'll get John to create a pink 16-inch saw for me.
Yeah, I've joked around a couple times about doing other colors, and he was never thrilled with that idea.
I know,
I
what the
still
heck?
I still want a John Deere green and a General Lee orange saw. Especially, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do like neon orange lapidary equipment. I think a General Lee orange saw would look so cool.
Yeah. If you guys, literally everything pretty much in my life is pink. Like all of my software here, I found a way to make it all pink. My phone case, all my accessories.
No, do they? I've only seen the red. I haven't seen the orange.
Oh my, Terry. That'd be unfortunate. Hold on, I'm seeing that word again. What do you mean again?
What? What did I miss?
Nothing.
Uh-huh.
Everyone's just saying how much they love you in the chat, Zeke.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. You guys are so funny. Hemi orange would work too. Kubota orange would also work.
The Jordan birthday special. Team, when you're let me clarify something. Live events team, when you are putting the notes on the orders, we don't need to add the whole Jordan birthday special part because that is such an easy way to
Oh,
get
yeah,
me
we
in the
do.
office. Order
Yeah,
for
we do.
order entry team. Jay, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you on that one. And Lizelle, I know who I'm going to first. I'm
If they
so dragging you guys down with me if that happens. I'm not even kidding.
if they put it in the chat, put it in the notes there. Special birthday deal should go on every order.
Jay, I will find out where you are if you get those notes on the invoice, okay? Jay's just smiling, like, okay.
Don't worry, Jay. I'll vouch for you.
Zikri, don't make me mute you.
And Jordan won't be here to say anything.
I just put that together because I know, because I remember seeing order notes like whatever notes you guys put like for your sauce size or whatever if you say something funny because Ed will like whenever Ed requests for a deal he always does like a funny comment after and it's always on the packing slip and when I see it I start laughing again. So that's what made me think of it and I was like if you put Jordan birthday special on the Gambiri deal I'm in so much trouble. Like such an easy way to get them to me.
Cl- Clearly, this deal was Jordan's. It literally says Jordan birthday
Oh my
deal right
goodness.
on it.
Jordan birthday special on 100 invoices that Tay and Sherman get to look over. Like, oh,
I think that's a great plan.
that's a horrible plan. More agate cutting, Zikri, is what they are
Oh,
requesting.
we could do another round of agates.
Zikri is laughing because he's like, I hope they keep it on there.
Yeah, it would be funny.
I'm gonna have to go put white out on all your packing slips.
Hey, the Tay will be more suspicious of that.
I know. I like that, Cynthia. Zeke suggested it for my birthday.
Zeke had nothing to do with Jordan's birthday extravaganza.
Extravaganza.
Oh, here's some fun ones we can cut. Grab some Mozambiques.
Thank you guys. Well, Zeke did approve a couple of the deals. He he approved them all.
Only a
He
couple
definitely.
of them, as Jordan admitted.
Oh my Lanta. Well, I've only done a couple. It's like your version of a couple. We all know Zeke's version of a couple. It's like 7.
That's like 7.
Unless we're at the island I get tote, then it's till we're at the bottom.
Hey, nobody was complaining.
Thank you guys. I love that you guys did a Zeke couple.
This one, I think we're gonna hit a fracture no matter which way we go.
What are you cutting, Zeke? I didn't look.
These are Mozambiques.
Those agates are always fun too. Have you cut any condors? Yes, right?
Not tonight.
Oh, you did the Almejos earlier, right? Or Gamberries, one of
Gam
you.
Gamberries. Should probably do a Thulite deal to stick with the pink theme.
Pink deal. Thulite?
Yeah. Or Mozambiques would be another fun one. Lots of nice pinks in those. Heck,
I know.
it's
I
your
know Zeke.
birthday month. Do them both, you know.
Lizelle, crop that in the transcript. Zeke encouraging. You guys want a deal on the Mozambiques? Let's get you a deal on the Mozambiques.
You want to do a Mozambique specimen and a Mozambique cabbing and tumbling?
Oh, I was already on that, Zeke. Don't you worry. I
Actually,
did
I think they already
learn.
have a cabbing and tumbling deal.
Team, you want to post the cabbing and tumbling deal? He did help.
This one I know is going to be really good. I just was like, man, I want to cut that. Sometimes you just got to cut a really great one. Oh, I can't wait to get those SGA grippers.
Team, do you have a
Uh,
Mozambique cabbing and tumbling deal to post?
and a $30 lot, there's probably going to be 20 to 30 nodules, I would guess. Ish. This is an interesting one because if you look at this end, you can see it's kind of just cruddy quartz. And if you look at the other end, kind of like a island agate, you can see it tapers to nice pastel agate. We'll just take a slice off the end of this one.
Alrighty, the Mozambique specimen deal, 4 pounds is normally $200. I feel like 4 pounds is the perfect amount to get you started. 4 pounds is normally $200. Tonight you're gonna get 4 pounds for 150.
Holy crap. That's a crazy deal.
Did I do that?
You know, John said that you're not gonna be able to get these anymore.
Oh, that's right. He did say that yesterday.
No one approved that, Lizelle. She just went for it.
You know the term send it? That's what I'm doing tonight. Lizelle said, okay, whose side are you on, Lizelle?
Lizelle's an anarchist. She flip flops.
Street loyalty.
The wheels on the bus go over Jordan and they back over Jordan and they go over Jordan all night. That's oh, that's the percentage off on that one. Okay. Well,
Yeah, I take it you didn't check that math.
well, I did. It just didn't register until now. Thank you guys.
That's okay because that's way better than the 46% he did earlier.
Yeah, Zeke, what the heck?
46% I did on what?
That's way better than the 100% off the coral forever ago.
Forever ago. It'd be like 10 years later. The coral.
It's true. You're welcome,
Jordan's
guys.
giving away just as much rock.
I'll go pick a bin of the Mozambique. I like it, Jim. Learn it, Zeke. I'm gonna go pick out a bin of those Mozambiques for you guys to look at. Luckily, right now, Mel's doing a lot of the picking, so she's not as trained to look at our crazy deals. She'll get there, but
You know, at some point they're gonna have. This probably was supposed to be Lizelle. They're gonna have somebody that their whole job is to inspect our deals.
like,
Be like denied.
Well, if it's offered here, we cannot change anything. So
it is what it is.
Ladies, there's enough to go around.
Oh my, Zeke.
That was such a good day.
Every day here is a good, like, I don't know. I always like coming in here is always just so much fun.
We do have a lot of fun.
And it sounds corny saying that. And I know a lot of people are probably like, yeah, they're BSing or whatever. But if you're for business, you do see, like, even if you visited us multiple times, like, everyone here is genuinely so happy and we all enjoy coming into work. And it's just such a positive environment. It's really awesome. Like, even on the most hectic days, there's always something to be positive and happy about here. That is a Brazilian that you posted. It's a good floater in there. Did you do a cab out of the floater? You're welcome.
That is a good one. I
Yep.
love that orange right there.
That's why
Yeah,
these are
that's
in my
a
top 3.
that's a premium agate.
That's a Mozambique.
Oh, this is a nice pastel one. This one I knew I already liked though. And you did 25% off these?
You know what? Do we have to keep throwing the percentage around? We can't just leave it to a vague great deal. Zekri. Yes. Yeah. He finds it. Yeah, it is just age. It's just a number, okay?
Did
As
you do a
if,
Thule
like,
deal?
are you gonna throw the percentage around if I give it?
Probably.
Just trying to give the people what they want, okay? Monica, just for you, I'm doing a Thulate deal, and it's gonna be insane. I feel a little bit of judgment in Zekri's sickly laugh. Is there a preference of the stainless over the powder coat? Zekri.
The
Zekri.
big advantage over the stainless over the powder coat is the powder coat you can see it's got these slanted tanks, so it holds a lot more muck in there, so you don't have to clean it out as often. And then they do have a window in the top, whereas the powder coat doesn't. That was really the only big advantage. The other one upside to the stainless steel one over the powder coat is if you've ever looked at old equipment, a lot of times you'll see they're pretty rusty, whereas you'll never get that with the stainless steel one. But if you're not passing this down to your great 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 grandkids, then that doesn't really matter. Some people, that is a thought. When John and Sherman build these, they're thinking, 100 years on these machines.
Oh, I would so wear that, Adriana.
Oh, this is another great one. Man, that's a sweet agate.
This weekend I'm gonna have fun, so I don't even want to think about Monday, but I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good night.